Hi, this is Holly of Holly's Soapmaking. In this video, I'll show you my attempt at making a marble soap. This was actually the challenge in last month's Soap Challenge Club. Unfortunately, I ran out of time to participate, but wanted to give it a try anyway. I used a really simple technique, hoping to create something close enough to a marble design. The recipe will be listed at the end, and you'll find all of the other information in the description box below. I chose white, gray, and black for my color palette. For the white, I mixed 2 teaspoons of water-soluble titanium dioxide with an equal amount of warm distilled water. For the gray and black, I mixed 2 teaspoons of activated charcoal with about 3 teaspoons of olive oil, just enough to make it fluid. To make the lye, I first weighed out the sodium hydroxide in distilled water. To determine these amounts, you'll need to run your recipe through a soap calculator. I actually like to use the SoapMaker 3 software, but I'll show you how to enter the recipe into a free soap calculator called SoapCalc at the end of this video. I then poured the sodium hydroxide into the distilled water and slowly stirred. When you're making the lye, always practice lye-safe handling procedures and be sure to work in a well-ventilated area away from children and pets. Once the sodium hydroxide was completely dissolved, I set the lye aside to cool and moved on to weighing the oils and butters. Since my soap was going to be mostly white, I decided to add the titanium dioxide to the entire batch. I used a rate of 1/4 teaspoon per cup of soap and added it early in the blending process so I could get it mixed in really well. After reaching a light trace, I poured off 1 1/3 cups to create the gray soap. I used about 1/4 teaspoon of the charcoal oil to create the gray. The goal for the Soap Challenge Club was to create a marble soap. I was hoping I could combine 2 simple techniques that I've used in the past and get close enough to a marble pattern. Several years ago, I saw a video by Marie of Humblebee and me where she created a really pretty marble soap using a drop swirl. So I thought I'd try that and also add a charcoal oil line with it. I think my idea sort of worked, and I really liked the soap, but they definitely didn't turn out anywhere near as well as the other methods I've seen. And maybe it might have turned out a little better if I'd added a light and a dark shade of gray and possibly more oil lines, but who really knows? When you're dealing with a drop swirl and an oil line swirl, there's so much luck involved with that it's hard to say. I oven processed the soap to make sure the entire loaf went through gel phase. I preheated my oven to its lowest temperature, then turned it off and placed the soap inside, leaving it overnight. I kept the oven light on for about 2 hours to help maintain the warmth inside the oven a bit longer. I removed the soap from the oven the next morning and left it covered on the counter for another 24 hours. Since this was a cold process soap, I left the type of lye set to sodium hydroxide, or NaOH. My recipe oil weight was 1,250 grams. My lye concentration was 35%, which means my lye solution consisted of 35% sodium hydroxide and 65% distilled water. I left the superfat at 5%, and my fragrance usage rate was 30 grams per kilogram. Once you have everything entered, you just select to calculate the recipe, then to view or print it. SoapCalc will give you a really nice listing of all of your ingredients, including the amount of sodium hydroxide required to saponify your oils. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope you found something useful here to help you in your soap making.